First encounter. Hook. The year was 2257. Earth had been at peace for years, but that peace was about to be shattered. The stars above, once a symbol of endless possibility, now seemed to hold something darker. It began with a message, an unexpected and chilling transmission that reached Earth, disrupting all communications, systems, and technology. It wasn't from any familiar place. It was from the stars, from a galaxy far beyond their own. The message appeared on every screen, in every language, across the globe. Its simple text glowed ominously. Surrender or face extinction. At first, no one understood. No one knew who had sent it. There were no names, no faces, just a cold, anonymous demand. Earth had seen threats before, but nothing like this. No one had ever dared challenge the might of humanity, not in this way. The transmission ended as suddenly as it had begun, leaving the world in stunned silence. As the message spread, panic slowly crept into the hearts of Earth's leaders. No one knew where the message had come from or why it had been sent, but one thing was certain. It was a demand, not a request, and it was clear that the consequences for refusing it were severe. The threat had been made, and there was no mistaking the urgency of the warning. For the people of Earth, it was a time of uncertainty. News networks buzzed with speculation, and emergency meetings were called across every government. The United Nations quickly convened, bringing together the brightest minds and the most powerful leaders on Earth. The entire world was watching, waiting for someone to make sense of the situation. Among the leaders, there were two distinct reactions. Some called for caution, urging diplomacy, hoping that this was some sort of misunderstanding. They wanted to avoid conflict at all costs, certain that any aggression would lead to disaster. Others, however, were not so willing to let the unknown alien threat dictate Earth's future. They urged for action, demanding that humanity's strength and resolve be shown immediately. The debate grew heated, with some arguing for peace, while others advocated for a strong defensive stance. As the hours ticked by, and no further information arrived, the tension grew. Fear spread quickly. Were the aliens watching? Had they already arrived in orbit, ready to strike? No one knew. What was clear, however, was that humanity's future was in the hands of its leaders, and time was running out. In the vast chambers of the UN, President Clara West stood at the front of the room. She had always been a voice of reason, known for her calm demeanor and careful decision-making. But now, the weight of the moment was too great to ignore. The planet was on the brink of something unimaginable. Her heart raced, but her face remained firm. The survival of Earth depended on the choices made in the next few hours. People of Earth, she began, her voice steady, but filled with a tension that seemed to seep into every word. This is no ordinary message. It is a demand, a challenge. We cannot ignore this. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward her. She paused, letting the gravity of the situation sink in. The aliens, whoever they are, have made their intentions clear. They expect us to surrender. They think we will bow to their power, but we cannot allow that. Earth is not a planet to be conquered. It will not be bullied into submission. But we must make our response carefully. The future of our people, our planet, and our children depends on it. The leaders nodded in agreement, but the uncertainty in their eyes remained. No one knew who these aliens were or what they wanted. It was a gamble, a dangerous one. As they discussed, Earth's scientists were busy at work, trying to decipher any clues hidden in the transmission. What kind of technology was behind the message? Was it a hoax? Was this some sort of trick? Hours passed, but the answers remained elusive. And as the world anxiously awaited, a sense of foreboding began to settle in. But just as it seemed that nothing could be done, a new transmission came through. This time, it wasn't just a message. It was a signal, an unmistakable sign that something was approaching. "Prepare yourselves," the message said, its voice low and ominous. "The fleet is coming. Your time is running out. The realization hit like a thunderclap. The threat wasn't just a far-off warning. The alien fleet was already on its way. Earth had mere days, perhaps only hours, before the full force of their invasion would reach the planet. The fight for humanity's survival had begun. As the news spread, panic began to rise again. People began to fear the unknown. What kind of beings were they? How powerful were they? Could humanity survive this unknown enemy? No one knew the answers, but one thing was certain. Earth had never faced anything like this before. And as the clock ticked down, President West's resolve only strengthened. She knew that humanity would not surrender. No matter what it took, no matter the odds, Earth would fight. The first step had been taken. Humanity's strength would be tested in ways no one could have predicted. The galaxy had made a mistake. They had underestimated humanity. And now, they would pay the price. The human response. As the alien message echoed across the globe, Earth's leaders had no choice but to act. President Clara West's speech had set the tone, but now the world had to rally together. The mere thought of an alien invasion was overwhelming, but humanity's response would be the key to survival. The UN meeting continued long into the night. Despite the uncertainty, there was a shared resolve. The majority of the world's nations stood united. There was no room for division. The threat of annihilation was too real, and the alien demand too dire. Earth's defense would need to be coordinated on an unprecedented scale. Across the globe, military forces scrambled to prepare for the worst. The air was thick with tension as Earth's warships, fighter jets, and fleets were readied for what seemed like an impossible fight. Humanity was no stranger to conflict, but a battle against a completely unknown enemy, with potentially far superior technology, was a new kind of fear. In the war rooms, generals and strategists worked furiously. They studied the alien message, trying to decode any hidden meanings or clues. What were their weaknesses? What technologies did they possess? Did the fleet really exist, or was it a bluff? These questions ran through every mind, but none had answers. It was the first time in history that Earth had been so blind, so uncertain about an enemy. The science and technology community was also thrown into action. Every satellite, every telescope, every radar system was scanned for any sign of the alien fleet. The sky became a canvas of urgency. The most advanced space probes were launched into deep space, hoping to catch a glimpse of what was coming. President West stood firm in her leadership. She ordered every available resource to be diverted into defense systems. The world had to be prepared. Yet, as the first pieces of information started to come in, she felt a cold dread settle in her chest. The signals were becoming clearer. There were no signs of diplomacy. The message had been a declaration of war, not a request for peace. On the front lines of military bases, soldiers trained relentlessly. The prospect of facing an advanced alien force was daunting, but it also sparked a fire in the hearts of many. Men and women who had lived in relative peace their entire lives were now preparing for a battle they never thought would come. The future of humanity rested on their shoulders. Some soldiers couldn't help but feel that the aliens had made a grave mistake. Humans were known for their resilience, their ingenuity, and their ability to fight back in impossible situations. History had taught them that the will to survive was one of humanity's greatest strengths. But doubts still lingered. How could Earth possibly face such a foe? How could they stand against an enemy who might have mastered technologies far beyond anything humanity could imagine? These were questions no one had answers for. Meanwhile, in the midst of the preparation, an unexpected signal was detected from deep space. This signal wasn't from the alien fleet, but from a distant human outpost on Mars. Scientists and engineers who had been studying alien life for years, without knowing what their research would one day mean, began to piece together information that could potentially turn the tide in humanity's favor. On Mars, scientists had been working on developing a new kind of energy shield, one that could withstand extreme forces. It wasn't finished yet, but now it was humanity's last hope. The information, relayed in real time to Earth's defense teams, promised a breakthrough in the very technology that could shield Earth from the impending invasion. However, the project was incomplete, and there was no certainty it could be fully deployed in time. The clock was ticking. As Earth's leaders and military strategists debated their next move, there was one thing they could all agree on. The aliens had underestimated humanity's determination. Every piece of technology, every bit of human ingenuity, was now being put to the test. Earth had no choice but to fight back, hard and fast. Back in the command center, President West addressed her people. Her face, normally calm and composed, was now tinged with the weight of the world. "We may not know exactly what we're up against, but we will face it together," she said. "We are humans. We do not back down. We do not surrender. We fight for our families, for our planet, for our future." Her words were broadcast across the globe. They sparked something in every person who heard them. Unity, hope, a renewed sense of strength. But as Earth's forces mobilized, another unexpected twist came to light. The alien fleet, which had been so silent after the initial transmission, suddenly began to show signs of life. Space probes picked up massive energy signatures. A huge, approaching armada was drawing near, and it was coming fast. The battle for Earth had truly begun. Humans might have been underestimated, but this would be the fight of their lives. The alien invaders would soon learn that humanity would not go down without a fight. The first shots had not yet been fired, but the entire world had already rallied together. They knew this was just the beginning. As the fleets prepared to meet, one thing was certain: Earth would not fall without a fight. It was time to show the galaxy that underestimating humanity had been the greatest mistake anyone could have made. The alien arrival. The night sky over Earth became an unsettling sight. Massive ships appeared as dots in the distance, far too large to be ignored, their shadows stretching across the horizon. Every telescope, every satellite, every piece of technology that could detect movement in space began to focus on these incoming ships. The alien fleet had arrived. For the first time in human history, an enemy was no longer a vague concept, a rumor, or a distant threat. They were here, in the flesh, their fleet massive and ominous, and it was clear they weren't here for peaceful negotiations. As the first wave of alien ships broke through the upper atmosphere, humanity was gripped by a sense of urgency. The ships were unlike anything the world had ever seen, sleek, powerful, and built for war. Their weapon systems were clearly designed for total destruction. Humanity, despite all their preparation, had no idea what they were truly facing. What had they come for? What would happen next? President Clara West stood in front of her advisors, trying to maintain composure. She knew the world was watching. The weight of the moment pressed on her shoulders as she issued the order to put Earth's military on high alert. "We have no choice now," President West said, her voice steady but laced with concern. "We must be ready to fight. We will not be intimidated." A wave of determination spread through the room as military commanders prepared to implement Earth's defense plans. Everyone knew this would not be a simple fight. No one knew if humanity could defeat this advanced alien race, but the survival of Earth depended on them pushing forward. Meanwhile, in space, the alien fleet continued its approach, their vast, intimidating silhouettes now visible to every observer on Earth. Military satellites tracked their movements, but there was no sign of their intentions. Were they going to attack immediately, or were they just showing force? The tension was unbearable. Humanity had learned of their enemies' overwhelming size and strength, but the unknowns were overwhelming. The alien ships had shields that seemed nearly impenetrable. Their weapon systems appeared to be far beyond Earth's technology. The only thing humans had going for them was their creativity, their resilience, and their fierce will to survive. As the first salvo of weapons from the alien ships pierced the atmosphere, Earth's defenses fired back. The sounds of missiles launching, the hum of energy weapons being charged. It was all a blur as Earth's warships made their first move. There was no time for fear, no room for hesitation. If humanity had any chance of survival, it would be determined in these moments. The warships, now fully armed, were ready. They launched their payloads in unison, sending waves of energy blasts and missiles toward the approaching fleet. But despite Earth's best efforts, the alien ships showed no signs of slowing down. They retaliated quickly, firing back with weapons that obliterated Earth's outermost defenses. It was then that humanity realized the true scale of the threat. The aliens had not come to negotiate. They had come to conquer. Their weapons made Earth's ships look fragile, and their shields were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Earth was being overpowered at every turn. But what the aliens didn't account for was humanity's resourcefulness. Despite the odds, despite being outclassed in terms of firepower, humans were ready to adapt. Earth's fleet didn't give up. They had learned quickly from the first strikes. New tactics emerged, and Earth's warships began to maneuver in ways the aliens hadn't anticipated. Humanity was learning fast, but so were the aliens. The alien ships continued to rain fire down on Earth's defenses, but the humans were relentless. They fought back with everything they had, refusing to allow the destruction to go unanswered. The world watched in silent awe as their soldiers, fighters, and crews risked everything to protect their homes, families, and the future of the planet. The alien ships, however, weren't the only threat. As the battle raged on, strange reports began to emerge. Unknown craft, smaller than the warships, began to break off from the larger fleet and land in various locations across Earth. Were these additional forces meant to invade, or were they something else entirely? These new ships were far more agile and much more dangerous at close range. In the chaos, humanity's forces began to react instinctively. There were no more orders, only survival. The human spirit was unyielding, and that was perhaps their greatest strength. They would fight with every last ounce of energy, using everything they had to push back the invaders. Amidst the chaos, President West received a new report. Alien medics were among the new arrivals. At first, the reports were dismissed as rumors. But as more confirmation came in, the reality began to sink in. Why would the enemy send medics if they were determined to wipe out humanity? What could this mean? Were they trying to manipulate the human forces, showing that they had compassion? Or was there another, darker reason for their actions? Whatever the case, humanity had to remain vigilant. The battle had taken a new turn, and humanity's survival was still uncertain. The aliens had made one massive miscalculation. They had underestimated Earth's ability to fight back, and they had underestimated the resilience of humanity. But as the conflict escalated, the world watched in anticipation. The war was far from over. You said, the alien medic's arrival. Amid the chaos of war, something unexpected happened. As the sounds of destruction continued to fill the air, humanity's attention was suddenly drawn to a strange new development. Alien craft, smaller and sleeker than the towering warships, began to land in various locations around Earth. These ships did not appear armed for battle, but instead had a medical insignia painted on their sleek surfaces. At first, no one knew how to react. Was this a trick? A cunning plan to deceive Earth's forces into a false sense of security? For days, confusion reigned as reports of these new arrivals trickled in from different parts of the world. Their craft touched down in cities already ravaged by battle, their occupants stepping out in uniform suits that resembled medics more than soldiers. These aliens didn't look like the ruthless invaders that had been launching strikes at Earth's defenses. Instead, they seemed almost peaceful. Their eyes, hidden behind visors, didn't reflect the coldness that had been seen in their previous attacks. The medics seemed focused on one thing: helping the wounded. Why are they here? President Clara West asked as she stared at the live feed of alien medics tending to human soldiers. She wasn't the only one who was confused. Across the world, militaries, governments, and ordinary people questioned the motives of these new arrivals. The medics began treating injured soldiers, some of whom had been critically wounded in the first days of the conflict. Their alien technology was advanced, far beyond anything humans had developed. Wounds that would have taken days or even weeks to heal on Earth were closing up in a matter of hours. It was a miracle, yet something about it didn't sit right. "Are they trying to make us owe them something?" General Harris asked, speaking for many of the world's leaders. "After everything they've done, why would they suddenly start healing us?" The human soldiers, caught in the middle of the battle and these strange interventions, were hesitant to trust their alien saviors. However, the pain relief from the alien medics was undeniable. Soldiers who had been on the brink of death found themselves suddenly healed, ready to return to the front lines. Meanwhile, back in the command centers, President West and her advisors were at a crossroads. The situation was growing more complex by the minute. On one hand, they could reject the medics and refuse their assistance, possibly jeopardizing their wounded troops. On the other hand, accepting help from the very enemy who had attacked them could send the wrong message. What was the alien fleet's true goal? If they wanted to destroy humanity, why send medics? And if they wanted to manipulate Earth's forces, what was the long-term strategy? Was this a form of psychological warfare designed to confuse and divide humanity? Despite their reservations, humanity could not afford to turn away help. The war was taking a heavy toll on Earth's soldiers, and the alien medics were the only ones who seemed able to save them. But it was still a gamble. Could the aliens truly be trusted, or was there an agenda behind their unexpected kindness? As the battle raged on, one thing became clear: Earth's forces were not going to give up. The alien medics had saved lives, but they had not broken humanity's spirit. Despite the strange alliance, humans remained determined to fight. And even as they received help, the humans knew they could not forget the destruction the alien fleet had already caused. Days passed, and the alien medics continued to work tirelessly. More and more soldiers were saved, and their numbers began to swell as the human forces reorganized. The warships stood at the ready, waiting for the next wave of attacks, but the sudden presence of medics brought a shift in morale. The human soldiers now faced a new, conflicting challenge: how to wage a war when the enemy seemed to be offering help. The conflict was far from over, but this strange intervention had caused a divide among the people of Earth. Some saw it as an opportunity to end the fighting, hoping the aliens had a more peaceful intent. Others were wary, knowing that the peace could be a facade. Was this just the calm before the storm? As Earth's leaders deliberated, an uncomfortable truth began to settle in. Despite the medics' efforts, humanity could not escape the looming presence of the alien warships overhead. The battle had only paused, and there was no guarantee of what would happen next. The medics had saved lives, but they had not saved Earth. That responsibility still rested on humanity's shoulders. In the shadow of this uneasy peace, humanity continued to prepare for whatever would come next. Would the aliens attack once more, or was this the beginning of a different kind of warfare? One where the fate of Earth's survival hung in the balance, caught between the healing hands of the enemy and the growing strength of humanity's resolve. Time would tell. But one thing was certain: humanity would never again underestimate the lengths to which the alien race would go. And as the soldiers looked to the skies, they knew the battle for Earth was only just beginning. "You said," a shocking betrayal. The alien medics had worked day and night, saving countless lives across Earth. They had treated the wounded with remarkable efficiency, using technology that far surpassed human medical advancements. The once dying soldiers were now standing tall, ready to fight again. However, something was still wrong. Despite the obvious help from these alien medics, humanity could not shake the nagging feeling that they were being manipulated. The doubts were further fueled when a series of strange communications began to surface. Intelligence reports from various parts of the world started indicating unusual patterns in the alien ship's movements. At first, these reports were dismissed as paranoia, rumors spread by those who had witnessed the aliens' arrival and feared they had an ulterior motive. But as more evidence surfaced, the whispers of betrayal grew louder. It began with the sighting of strange movements in the skies. Alien ships, not landing to provide medical aid, but hovering ominously over key military sites. And then came the reports of soldiers vanishing. Initially, it seemed like just confusion, or perhaps the chaos of war. But when entire platoons of soldiers went missing after being treated by the alien medics, fear began to take hold. General Harris was the first to voice the growing unease. "We've been too focused on the help they've given us, and we've ignored the signs," he said in a secret meeting with President Clara West. "They've been saving lives, but at what cost? There's no such thing as a free lunch in war. These aliens are up to something." West felt the weight of the decision pressing on her. The alien medics had undeniably saved lives. But this new development, the strange disappearances, was a bridge too far. They could no longer ignore the possibility of a grander scheme at play. The aliens weren't just here to treat the wounded. They were hiding something much darker. Late one evening, as Earth's forces prepared for what they feared would be another attack, a transmission intercepted from one of the alien ships confirmed their worst nightmare. It was not a military communication, but a report from a high-ranking alien officer discussing the success of their humanity harvesting plan. They had used the medics as a cover, luring Earth's soldiers into a false sense of security. The true goal was far more sinister. The aliens had been collecting human prisoners. The medical stations had been nothing but elaborate traps. The alien medics weren't just saving soldiers, they were secretly gathering them, taking them off-world for an unknown purpose. It wasn't just a matter of treatment. It was about control, about using human lives as pawns in a larger game. Some soldiers, weakened and unaware of the deception, had been taken right under their comrades' noses, whisked away to far-off planets. "We've been tricked," West muttered to herself, reading the intercepted message. Her heart sank as the full weight of the betrayal became clear. The aliens hadn't come to help. They'd come to harvest. The so-called medics were nothing more than pawns in a more extensive operation. This wasn't about saving lives. It was about weakening humanity's defenses and taking prisoners for their own purposes. The realization hit harder than any weapon. The medics had manipulated their way into Earth's trust, saving lives only to take them again. Worse still, they had done it at a time when humanity was at its most vulnerable. As President West prepared to make her next move, she knew she couldn't allow humanity to fall further into the trap. The battle had just shifted into a far darker phase. There was no more room for hesitation. They had been fooled once, but they would never be fooled again. "I need every ship on high alert," General Harris ordered over the communication line. "We're going to find those prisoners, and we're going to bring them back. Now we fight with everything we've got. No more deals, no more trusting them." The entire human fleet moved into position, ready for a counterattack. But the damage was done. Humanity's belief in the alien medics had cost them precious time. The aliens had taken what they needed, and now they had to face the wrath of the very people they had once tried to heal. As Earth's forces gathered, there was no longer any doubt in anyone's mind. The aliens had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back. They had thought that saving a few lives would win the trust of the human race. But now, the only thing humanity wanted was retribution. And so, the stage was set for an all-out war. The alien medics who had once seemed like saviors were now the target of humanity's fury. There would be no surrender, no negotiations, only an unrelenting fight to reclaim their own. The real battle had only just begun. The hunt for the prisoners. Humanity was furious. What had begun as a glimmer of hope, with the arrival of the alien medics, had quickly turned into a nightmare of betrayal. The truth had come crashing down. The medics had been harvesting humans, using their trust to deceive them, to manipulate them. The soldiers who had been saved were now the captives of an alien race they had once thought to be allies. As Earth's leaders grappled with the enormity of the situation, a single question burned in everyone's minds. Where were the prisoners? The alien ships had taken them, but where had they gone? The vastness of space seemed like an endless labyrinth, and without knowing the exact location, humanity had no chance of rescuing their people. President Clara West knew that time was running out. Every moment they wasted gave the aliens a stronger hold over their captives. The more they delayed, the harder it would be to track down the missing soldiers. General Harris gathered his best strategists and scientists in a covered command center deep beneath the surface of Earth. He had one task: to figure out where the aliens had taken the prisoners and how they could infiltrate their base without being detected. "Time is of the essence," General Harris said, his voice cold and focused. "We know the aliens have advanced technology, but we have something they don't: our will to fight for our own. We can't afford to wait around. We need a plan, and we need it now." The room went silent as maps of the galaxy were projected on the large screens before them. The alien fleet had spread out, disappearing into deep space, and finding one ship among the thousands was like finding a needle in a haystack. But one of the scientists, a young woman named Dr. Amelia Lee, had a different idea. She pointed to a series of anomalies detected by Earth's deep space sensors. The patterns, though faint, seemed to form a regular route. The alien ships had been traveling along a particular trajectory, and each time they returned, they followed the same course. "It's not a coincidence," Dr. Lee said, her voice trembling with excitement. "They've been using the same path. They're returning to a specific location, probably a base or a station. If we can track this path, we can pinpoint where the prisoners are being held." General Harris's eyes narrowed. "Then let's do it. Every fleet in the solar system is on standby. We're going to track these ships, and when we find that base, we're going in." The clock was ticking. The alien medics, once regarded as saviors, were now the enemy. Humanity's anger and thirst for revenge had become the driving force behind their mission. The prisoners they had taken were human lives: brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers, and humanity would stop at nothing to get them back. As Earth's fleet prepared for its first strike, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Every soldier, every officer, knew what was at stake. The medics had betrayed their trust, and now they would pay the price. The alien base, wherever it was, would soon face the full fury of Earth's wrath. But even as the fleet moved into position, the stakes were higher than ever. The aliens, far more advanced in technology than humanity, had already shown that they were capable of outsmarting Earth's forces. The mission wasn't going to be easy. It was going to be a war, not just for survival, but for humanity's dignity. In the cold vacuum of space, humanity was about to launch its boldest attack yet. Their warships, powered by the latest technology and armed with weapons of mass destruction, would soon be on their way. The alien base wouldn't know what hit it. But just as they were about to make their move, an unexpected twist occurred. A distress signal came through from the outer rim of the galaxy. A faint message, almost unintelligible, but recognizable. It was from one of the prisoners. "Help! Trapped! Alien ship." The message was short and fragmented, but it was clear enough. One of the soldiers who had been captured had managed to send a distress signal. It was a lifeline, a shred of hope in a war that seemed like it would never end. General Harris slammed his fist on the table. "They're still alive. We're not too late. The prisoners are still out there, and we're going to get them." The revelation sent a ripple of hope through the command center. Humanity's soldiers were still fighting, still surviving, even in the darkest of circumstances. And that was all they needed to hear. Now, with new determination, Earth's fleet made its final preparations. The hunt was on, and the aliens' days of evading justice were numbered. Humanity had been underestimated, but they had shown time and time again that they could outfight, outsmart, and outblast any enemy. The aliens had made a grave mistake by underestimating them, and now they would pay the price. As the fleet jumped into warp speed, heading towards the coordinates of the distress signal, everyone knew one thing for sure: the hunt for the prisoners was just the beginning. A new chapter in the war had begun, and humanity would stop at nothing to reclaim what was theirs. The final assault, the final showdown was upon them. Earth's fleet, now united and determined, surged toward the alien stronghold. The distance between them and the base was vast, but the resolve of the fleet's captains and crew was greater than the miles that separated them from their goal. Humanity had fought through impossible odds before, but this time it was personal. General Harris stood at the command center, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of responsibility. Thousands of lives depended on the success of this mission. The prisoners, his soldiers, his people, were counting on him. The alien base was a fortress, hidden within a dense asteroid field. The base itself was concealed by cloaking technology, but Earth's fleet had managed to track its location. The aliens had underestimated humanity's determination, and now they would pay the price. "Prepare for assault," General Harris ordered, his voice steady and authoritative. "We hit them hard and fast. No second chances." The fleet readied itself. Hundreds of ships, each armed to the teeth, prepared for what was sure to be the most intense battle of their lives. The air was thick with tension as the final checks were made. Soldiers, officers, and crew members alike exchanged glances, knowing that once they breached the asteroid field, there would be no turning back. Suddenly, the ship's loudspeakers crackled to life, and President Clara West's voice echoed throughout the fleet. "We have one goal: to rescue our people. We have been betrayed, but we will not be defeated. Fight for your brothers and sisters. Fight for Earth." The fleet roared to life as one, engines firing up with a synchronized hum. Every ship, every soldier, was united by the same singular purpose: to destroy the alien threat and bring their people home. As the fleet approached the asteroid field, a feeling of dread hung in the air. The base was well guarded, its defenses formidable. But humanity's soldiers had one advantage that the aliens didn't: an unbreakable will to survive. And it would be tested to its limits today. The first shots were fired. A volley of laser beams streaked across space as the ships of Earth's fleet launched their attack on the alien base. The base's defenses activated, firing back with deadly force. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as the two forces collided. On the lead ship, General Harris clenched the armrest of his chair as the battle raged on. He watched as his fleet pushed forward, slowly but surely, piercing through the aliens' outer defenses. But just as they thought they were gaining ground, a new threat emerged. Hundreds of alien warships, hidden in the depths of the asteroid field, suddenly appeared, launching a counterattack. Earth's fleet was caught off guard, but they quickly adapted. The battle intensified, with ships maneuvering at breakneck speeds, evading blasts and returning fire with deadly accuracy. In the chaos of the battle, a small group of elite soldiers, led by Captain Elena Parker, prepared to board the alien base. Their mission was clear: find the prisoners, rescue them, and bring them back at any cost. There was no room for error. As the boarding craft neared the surface of the alien base, Captain Parker gave the signal. The doors of the craft burst open, and her team stormed into the heart of the alien stronghold. The air was thick with tension as they fought their way through the base's corridors. Every step was a risk, but they pressed on, knowing the lives of their comrades were at stake. Captain Parker's heart pounded in her chest as they reached the central chamber. There, in a holding cell, she saw them, humans, stripped of their gear and bound by chains, but alive. Her heart soared with hope. But the aliens weren't going to make this easy. A large contingent of alien soldiers charged into the room, weapons drawn. Captain Parker's team immediately opened fire, forcing the enemy back. The battle in the base was fierce, but Earth's soldiers fought with everything they had: their training, their will to survive, pushing them forward. The prisoners were freed, but the fight was far from over. The base was crumbling around them as the alien warships continued to bombard it from the outside. The team fought their way to the extraction point, carrying their fallen comrades and freed prisoners with them. The final moments were a blur of gunfire and explosions, but the team made it back to the boarding craft. As the door closed behind them, Captain Parker looked out at the wreckage of the alien base. Humanity had done it. They had won. Back on Earth, the news of their victory spread like wildfire. The prisoners were returned to their families, their ordeal finally over. The alien invaders had been defeated, and humanity had once again proven that no one could underestimate their strength. As General Harris looked out at the stars, he knew that this victory would be remembered for generations to come. Humanity had faced unimaginable odds and had come out on top. They had not only survived, they had thrived. And in the hearts of the survivors, a single truth echoed louder than any victory. No one, not even the most powerful alien empire, could break the spirit of humanity.